Double G, what are we doing today?
Just living the fine life, baby.
Great, I love that. Just blocking off my calendar.
Let me hold that real quick.
Yeah.
The best plans are no plans.
You know what, Snoop D-O Double G? I think you might be right.
I know I am, Andy. And you can just call me Snoop.
You got it, Snoop. D-O Double G.
Hey, what's up, dudes? Just got through listening to Kirk's response to me, and this isn't necessarily going to be a response to him, but I do appreciate him responding the way he did. The video popped up like not even an hour after I did a wall of text and shit like I normally do. I know he don't really mind that, but it is funny that you know, I commented on his whole video, fucking the whole 2.5 hours. Which is great. Nothing wrong with that. I mainly wanted to touch on the race thing. I'd like to talk about everything, but 10-minute car ride, so I got to condense it a little bit. There's so much shit I want to talk about, and it's like, man, my Discord notes is fucking full, like almost like 20 threads of bullshit I can talk about. So it's like I got so many topics. But the Larry Elder thing. So Larry Elder, in case you don't know, is like a black conservative guy, you know? That's his, I wouldn't say his gimmick, but black conservatives are usually very, very open with this idea that they're black conservatives, you know what I mean? Like that, like black conservatism is like its own subgenre of like the Republican Party, you know what I'm saying? He's one of those guys, and he's cool. I like him a lot. He kind of stopped making videos on his own channel for some reason. I'm not sure why. But he's one of the first guys that I started watching when I was red-pilled, quote-unquote, back in like 2018. You know, when I discovered Jesse Lee Peterson and Thomas Sowell and Milton Friedman and all that shit. So Larry Elder's a guy who I hold in pretty high regard, right? Even though he is kind of on the download, you know, everybody's on the download to some degree, right? Even the most black-pilled in the truther community are still operating under this pretense of nut milk influence, right? You can't help that, okay? Like I said before, and this is super important, y'all. Like I said before, it's like we come out of our mother's wombs, we come out of our mothers, and the first thing we got to deal with is our crazy families. And the nut milk works through our crazy families. That's why I keep repeating it, because it's super important. But I want to talk about the race thing. If y'all should go see the video, go to my community post and watch that video where he talks about the attack on whites. And it's not necessarily about the white thing. And I thought about making a joke about how I view white people as cinnamon buns that need to be protected. I don't know, it was stupid, something stupid I thought of when I was listening to Kirk. Because I like white people a lot, all right? I like all people, really. Any race, really. But I think whites in general, not really talking about Kirk, because he doesn't classify himself in that way. I already know he doesn't, but it is like kind of a reality of the situation, right? Where Kirk goes outside and he's viewed as a white man, you know, a white, probably, you know, they look at him kind of nerdy, you know, no offense, kind of a nerdy white dude or whatever, without really knowing him, right? Knowing that he has this this God light in him, the way everybody does, right? But Kirk knows it and can acknowledge it, and he can actually have it flow through him. Like, he's got those leadership qualities, and it sounds silly as fuck, but you can tell by the way he presents himself, by the way he speaks, and probably by the way he plays his online RPGs. Like, he's okay with taking the leadership role and taking command of a bunch of fucking idiots, and like, that's just, I'm like that too, like, where I can take command, but it takes a lot out of me. It's like intro. I think that's like a symptom of being an introvert, where it's like, I can kind of put on a mask and don that kind of role of leader temporarily, but it's like somebody needs to take over, or I'm gonna I'm gonna hurt somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like I get exhausted from doing it, and that's how I kind of felt today when I was training the new girl, where it's like I'm getting fucking physically, mentally exhausted from dealing with this woman, and there's nothing wrong with her, right? She's just learning and asking questions, but after like 3 or 4 hours of nothing but that, it's kind of exhausting after a while. You know what I mean? But the whiteness thing, and it's like a actual phenomenon, because I think the title of the video, I'm not looking at it, so the title of the video is like it has something to do with white commercials, it has something to do with whites in commercials, right? And the very first example is Snoop Dogg and some like fucking, I don't know, some cringe jackass white dude who is trying to seem like too cool, right? Like too cool in front of this black guy, in front of Snoop or whatever the fuck. And it's really fucking cringe, right? And that's the portrayal. And like the next commercial is about a dude who's like being told by a black man and like a little Asian girl, I think it's an Asian girl, might have been a white woman, a little white girl, kind of showing him how to do this certain task while he's just a fucking dope, right? Like a Homer Simpson motherfucker who's just like kind of a wagey failure in a way, like just a regular schmuck. You know, his son is maybe not in the commercial, but maybe his son is like Dennis the Menace situation where he's just begging for attention. You know what I mean? Kind of that situation. But anyway, and Homer Simpson's a really good example of this. And I think, you know, shows like The Simpsons and like Kirk was saying, I was like, holy shit, like the laundry list, absolute non-stop portrayal of this phenomenon where, like, Kirk didn't bring up white guys in particular, but you notice that a lot of these guys that are shown as like jackasses are white. Kevin James is a good example, right? King of Queens. Billy loves to talk about that shit because it's like, it's such a good example. Like one of the best examples in my opinion. Go watch an episode of King of Queens, and you'll know right away what Billy and I are talking about. Like go on YouTube right now, type in King of Queens, you know, funniest moments. Just do that, and I guarantee you, without even looking, I guarantee you it's going to be a whole bunch of cringe about Kevin James being a fucking fat schlub while his wife is like, you know, always right about everything, you know what I'm saying? Or the black guy or whatever. I guarantee you they threw the race in there. I've seen a few episodes. I think I used to watch that show pretty frequently, but I don't remember much about it other than the overall theme of like, you know, fat schlub white guy, you know, Paul Blart Mall Cop. That bullshit. Fucking Mall Cop. Oh my god. You want to talk about, dude, these movies. Whew, these movies are just filled with fucking like beta male energy, and even movies like Rambo and all, you know, First Blood and Rocky and all that bullshit. They're still feeding the general public like just slop, like this phony masculine slop. And I like movies. Like, I really like First Blood. I really like Rambo. I want to see the third one. I haven't seen the third one yet, but I watched those movies recently, actually. And it's really funny because, man, the end of First Blood, while he's giving his speech, golly, he was giving his speech, and it reminded me so much of, like, People Like Us, where he's, like, on his knees crying. But I don't remember why. Damn it. I'll have to revisit that sometime. But, to talk about Rambo real quick, it's kind of funny because I guess around that time is when like the action star movie crap started with, like, you know, explosions and manly men doing manly things kind of bullshit, because I almost shut it off. Like, I was watching Rambo, which is the second, you know, First Blood Part 2 or whatever, the sequel to First Blood, and I was watching Rambo and I was really into it at first until we got to the part where they're on a river and all little Vietnamese are after him, right? And which was fine, but then they got to the scene where the boats crash into each other, and there's like fucking explosions everywhere. It's like, holy shit, dude! And I was like, I almost shut it off. I burst out laughing, and I almost stopped the movie. I mean, I'm glad I didn't, because it's a good movie. But it's just like these fucking movies are just so stupid. But shows like Rambo. Movies like Rambo, At the very least, right? You can see the passion, you can see the creativity. It's not completely under the dragon's wing. Maybe Sylvester Stallone wasn't completely under the dragon's wing by that point, you know? Because the movies he made after that are such fucking hot garbage. Like, what's that one with, fucking Phoenix. What's that idiot's name? The guy who plays Blade. The black guy, the really dark-skinned black guy. Demolition Man, that's it. What's the actor's name, though? The black dude. Oh my god, he played Blade, he's the vampire killer guy. Anyway, it don't matter, but, Demolition Man, right? I don't know, it's just wacky. I have to rewatch that movie just to, I bet there's fucking bullshit in that too. Doug, like Nickelodeon's Doug. So funny, I think I talked about this with Kirk. We had a back and forth about TV shows, and I brought up Doug. So, Doug Funny, you know, it's got the bully, right? It's got the archetypes, the stereotypes, like the rich girl and the fat girl. And then we got Doug, who's like a fucking nerd, right? Like Doug, I remember, you know what's funny though? I was pretty young when Doug came out. I might have been like 12 or 13. And I had these very specific thoughts about Doug where I like wanted to beat him up. Like, he acted like such a fucking like a cringe like pussy ass. I just wanted to like punch him in the stomach because how much of a fucking simp he acted like. And I don't know, I was just averse to that, or whatever the word is. It just gave me the willies with this dude kind of simping over this Patty Mayonnaise character. And just like totally fucking obsessed. And it's so funny, I think I read an article recently, or maybe been a Reddit thread talking about the creator of Doug, who was basically like a self-insert. Like Doug Funny was a self-insert for him, and Patty Mayonnaise was an insert for like a crush he had in junior high or some bullshit. And supposedly this dude was like still pining over this one girl who never like reciprocated feelings with. So he made this fucking cringe cartoon. And Doug is one of those shows where you love to hate. Like, it's watchable, it's okay. I actually started watching, I'm just kind of rambling. I started watching Pete and Pete recently, which is another Nickelodeon show from around that time. I'm a millennial, so this is stupid fucking shit I grew up with. I started watching that. The very first episode is about him simping over an older woman, one of his teachers. And it's so funny because one of the little girls, when I say little girls, I mean like it's one of his friends, like his female friends, who very obviously has a crush on Pete, like the Big Pete. There's Big Pete and Little Pete. She obviously has a crush on him, and she gets really jealous of this teacher. And the girl's like, how could you be in love with? Basically calls her a hag. How could you have feelings for this woman? She's like in her 30s, and she's like 32, and she smells like chalk or something like that. And it's so funny. It's like, oh no, she's in her 30s. I was like, fuck. You know, like I'm past 30 and all that. I'm 41. Yeah, I'm 41. I was like, oh shit. Like, even God, the very first episode had this creepy like Shotokan vibe to it. You know what I mean? And the teacher wasn't anything like that. I didn't watch the whole episode, but the teacher was just like kind of too socially awkward to even notice that this little kid, you know, this 13-year-old kid was hitting on her, like flirting with her. But it was funny that even back then, like way back in these Nickelodeon shows, like you have these reoccurring themes. Like you just can't get away from this fucking script that plays out, dude. It's just so wild, man. Anyway, I just want to talk about that real quick. I'm probably there's a lot more I want to go over, but my voice is actually hurting from working today because I had to talk way more than I'm used to. And I've been up since like fucking 5 a.m. Anyway, I guess I'll go ahead and post this up, even though it's kind of a short recording. Anyway, thanks Kirk for your response. Thank you for anyone who's listening. Y'all take it easy.